Okay, I'm ready. Hello Internet, this is Olin from What I'm Listening To. I hope you all are continuing to stay safe, stay healthy, keeping those hands nice and clean, and make sure you have enough time to ride your bike to work after filming this video. It is currently October 17th, 2021. It's 9:41 in the morning, and we're here doing yet another New Editions. You know how this show works. I have the new thingies. I talk about the new thingies. We nerd out about the new thingies. We love the new thingies. Let's dive into the thingies. And the first thingy I have for you today, I have Halsey's newest album, If I Can't Have Love, I Want Power. I was actually pleasantly surprised by this album. I hadn't really listened to much of Halsey's previous work, which in truth, I kind of just wrote her off as just another generic pop star. But when this album dropped, it got tons and tons of attention, which sparked my interest. And when looking into the background of the album, I noticed that it was produced by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Technically, I guess you could say it's produced by Nine Inch Nails because those are the members of Nine Inch Nails. And because of that, the music on here is a lot darker, a little gritty. There's some moments of industrial rock here and there, but overall it's still a very poppy, melodic sounding album. Yeah, it's truly a great album, and I think even if you're not a fan of Halsey but are a fan of Nine Inch Nails, you should definitely give this a listen. It really exceeded my expectations.
Caught up in the moment. I can't fall in love if I show it. I just fuck things up if you notice. Have you noticed? Tell me, have you noticed?
Next up, we got a classic album here. I have Nirvana's In Utero. I really don't think this album needs much of an introduction because it's Nirvana. Everybody knows who Nirvana is. While Nevermind was a smash success, Kurt thought it was just a bit too polished as far as production went. And he really wanted to make an album with the producer Steve Albini because he was a huge fan of the Pixies' first album, of the Breeders' first album, and a lot of hardcore punk records that he'd been involved in. And luckily for Kurt, he was able to get Steve involved with the project. And they ended up making this album sound more like a noise post-hardcore album rather than a clean grunge pop album. At the time, the label hated this sound because the mixes were just a bit too gritty to play on the radio. So two of the songs, Heart-Shaped Box and All Apologies, ended up being remixed slightly just to be a bit more presentable to the public. But overall, it's a much different sound to that of Nevermind and even Bleach, and honestly, I think it sounds fantastic. The cool thing about this version is it's the 20th anniversary edition, so it has the original album remastered, a bunch of bonus tracks and B-sides, including Steve Albini's original mixes of Heart-Shaped Box and All Apologies. And the second disc is a remixed album done in 2013 by Steve himself, along with even more previously unreleased instrumentals and mixes. To me, this is the essential version of the album. It's got everything you could possibly want from those sessions. So if you have not listened to this album, then you should just go listen to it. It's just one of those albums that everybody needs to listen to at some point in their lives because it's so legendary.
Hey, wait, I gotta lose no pain.
Next up, we're going to be doing a complete 180 here. I have two CDs by Craig David. I had forgotten how much I really enjoy these albums, and you can thank my mom for that. Shout out to you, Mom. She used to play both of these albums in the car all the time, on like an endless repeat it seems. I have many memories of going places and hearing all these songs. On this album in particular has some of my favorites. Fill Me In is one of them. Rendezvous was a good one. Whereas A Key to My Heart I always really liked because it was super sad. And the last track, Rewind, which is kind of a weird one to put on the album. Most of the stuff on here is pretty straightforward, dance, R&B, some soul to it. And then Rewind is this weird dance track that's a bit more raw and uses these strange sound effects all over the place, which I thought was really cool. But that song became one of mine and my brother's favorites. He always demanded listening to it whenever we would go anywhere. And then this album, I feel like, is just a little bit more of the same. There's some great cuts on here, Slicker Than Your Average, Hidden Agenda, Eeny Meeny. The beats are solid, the vocals are even more solid. Yeah, both these albums are great, and I got them for $1 and $1.99 respectively, so I couldn't pass up on that. Once again, shout out to you, Mom, for turning me on to these albums. I now have copies of them in my collection.
Slicker than your average. Tell me, what do you want from me? Slicker than your average. Hey, tell me, what do you want from me? Slicker than your average. So tell me what you want from me. You see, I got the key to my heart, girl. Unlock me and take all my feelings apart. 'Cause when you said you had to leave.
Next up, I have something I didn't expect to buy a copy of. I have Travis Scott's ASTROWORLD. For a pretty lengthy period of time, I was just not that into modern hip-hop and rap music. My education to hip-hop was a bit all over the place. I liked Eminem, I liked Psyche Origami, Shwayze was someone I really liked for a time, and then even the more experimental stuff like Clipping and the Death Grips I ate up. But when it comes to modern hip-hop, I just didn't pay attention to anyone who was emerging in the scene. I always thought they all sounded the same, I thought they were lame, and I don't know, I think I just didn't give them that much credit. But that has since changed. I have dipped my toe into the water, and I've ended up getting into folks like Kendrick and Brockhampton and Tyler the Creator, and now Travis Scott here. There's this fantastic YouTube channel called Onlysmallbites that takes popular rap albums and turns them into these 30-second videos using various lyrics from songs on said album. All of them are wildly entertaining, and I highly recommend you check it out. And in one of his videos, he ended up covering this album, and after watching that video like 80 times in a row, I became curious about it. So I gave it a listen, and hey, I ended up really liking it. The production is fantastic. It's kind of psychedelic at times. The beats are great. There's a lot of interesting features on here. It threw me for a complete loop, and I can safely say I am a fan. So shout out to that YouTube channel for turning me on to this album, and keep up making the quality videos. I will watch them over and over and over and over again.
Rolling, got me stargazing. Psychedelics got me going crazy. Oh no, niggas female, big selling. All the intelligence, you propelling. Up top with Ellen.
Next up, I have something that's a bit more obscure. This is a project called Organization, and this is their album Tone Float. You can pretty much sum this band up as proto-Kraftwerk. It's the project that the members of said band formed before ultimately moving forward with Kraftwerk. Even back in those days, they were interested in electronics and how they could incorporate that into music, but they were also really interested in the whole krautrock scene that was big at the time. And if you listen to Kraftwerk's first 3 albums, they are vastly different sounding compared to the albums that they are known for today. But I am a massive fan of those 3 albums. I love the unique experimental sound of them, and this project ended up being more of that. I randomly stumbled across this while filing CDs one day and became insanely fascinated by it. And just reading through the little blurb on the back here, it became very evident that I had to buy this. And it sounds exactly what I was hoping it would be, just more weird electronic krautrock stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, this looks like it's a reissue that came out last year, so it's easily accessible if you're interested. I definitely recommend this to anybody who loved Kraftwerk's first albums or just likes krautrock in general. Great album, great project, definitely recommend it. Staying on the topic of German music, the next CD I have for you today, this is Peter Schilling's Error in the System. Yet another thing I randomly stumbled across while filing CDs, and when I saw it, I just had to buy it. Peter is mostly known for his song Major Tom, Coming Home, which I think is his only big hit, at least here in the United States. He had originally released the song singing it in German, and eventually he released an English version, and that just blew up in the 80s. And this particular album has several versions of the song. We have the album version, we have the 12-inch special extended version, we have the instrumental version, and we have the German version. So in case you wanted to hear that song over and over again, then this is the CD for you. But aside from just that song, I bought this because I wanted to hear the rest of the album. I'm kind of fascinated by one-hit wonders. I like listening to their deeper cuts, which I think is just the rest of their songs, because I want to know if they sound as good as the songs that got them popular. Sometimes that's not the case, but there have been times where I've been pleasantly surprised. So giving this one a listen, I'm excited to dive into it, experience it for the first time, and there's a lot of content on here, so this should be a fun listen. Alright, the last CD I have for you today is a metal album. I have ADXs Execution. This is a band I had never heard of until just recently. They are a French metal band that came onto the scene in the 80s, and unfortunately they just didn't get as big as other groups from that time. This is the band's very first album, which was just recently reissued, and man, it sounds fantastic. They sound to me like Iron Maiden with like a small hint of black metal. It's got that new wave of British heavy metal groove, but there's like a slight hint of darkness to it that just makes it all the more interesting. This particular edition also includes a demo tape that the band released in 1984, and I was honestly surprised by how much I liked them. Normally when it comes to demos of songs you've heard on the main album, I could take them or leave them. Sometimes they're really cool, and other times it's just like a rough version of the same song. But the rough quality of those songs just made them all the more interesting and all the more sinister sounding. So after hearing the main album and the demos, I had to pick a copy up for myself, and I'm very glad I did. It is so very good. If you are a fan of metal, especially Iron Maiden, then definitely check this group out. You will absolutely enjoy them. Alright, Internet, that does it for me. Hey, if you have any new additions you've added to your collection, whether it's CDs, vinyl, or cassettes, let me know what they are. Leave a comment down below. Also, if you like this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It'll show me the support, and I'll love your face for it. And you can also follow me on Instagram for even more music. I post a new album on there semi-frequently, talk a little bit about it, and it gives you a bit of an insight of what else is in my collection. Thank you all so very much for watching. I have to go to work. So this is Olin from What I'm Listening To signing out. Goodbye.